The impact that this had on my job and career is interesting because this disease does not impact you all of a sudden. It happened gradually over a period of years, quite frankly. 8-year period of time from when I found out that there was something wrong with me, but didn't know exactly what until 2004 when I actually ended up on dialysis. And like many patients, I crashed it from the emergency room when my kidneys finally gave out. But work-wise, the things that were happening is that because I ran my own business, I could still do the work, but I was just not as efficient, not as effective, and I couldn't work as long. That's one of the most important things that patients need is information and education. And what they need is education from someone that can connect with them, and they need education as early on as possible. What education does is let you know the type of things that you can eat, the type of diet that you need to have, the exercise you need to do, and most importantly, the fact that you do need to stay in touch with your primary care physician and your nephrologist so that you can get the appropriate medication that can treat this disease. When you have kidney disease, and specifically when you're on dialysis, you generally don't sleep 7 or 8 hours. You may sleep 3 or 4 hours. So a lot of times when you wake up, you're not very well rested. And you will probably remain tired throughout the day, particularly on days when you have your dialysis session. So you want to get up, you want to get a good meal, you want to get something in your body so that you can go ahead and begin to function. You're not in any pain per se, you just feel like you're not sharp. You're just, again, not functioning on all cylinders, maybe operating at 60 to 70% of what you might normally do. That's what the disease does, and the medications. Between the disease and the medications, generally you just can't get your body. Most of us don't get 7 or 8 hours straight sleep. Now, before I went on dialysis, I was sleeping 2 hours, getting up and going to the bathroom. 2 hours getting up and go to the bathroom. So quite frankly, when I went on dialysis and was able to get 3 or 4 hours sleep, I was feeling much better. Meals when you're on dialysis, first of all, there's something called a renal diet. So you're aware that there's certain foods that you should not eat. For example, bananas have potassium. You stop eating oranges. You try to minimize tomatoes, and you cut back on certain other things that you know that just aren't helpful for you because your body doesn't have the ability to regulate. That's what the kidneys do, is that they regulate and control the chemicals that are in your body. So now you have to do it through diet. So you just have to make an adjustment so that you're eating things that are going to be healthy for you, and you avoid some of the things you know. Processed food is a big thing that has a lot of sodium and phosphates in it. You don't want to have those. You want to avoid those canned goods. So you want to eat fresh things, frozen things if you have to, but you really have to be aware of that because nutrition plays a big part in how you feel when you're on dialysis. You're generally low on energy, so you do want to eat, you do want to exercise to the best that you can. On dialysis days, really no different. You're going to feel better before you go to your dialysis session because when you go to the session, when you're on dialysis, you don't pass water, so you get fluids drained from your body, and that can help you feel better. But generally after a dialysis session, you're going to be a little bit tired, and you take a day to rest. You have an off day, and then on the next day, you're going to go back again. So I would say that you have to maintain the diet the best that you can. You have to follow the regimen of not drinking too many liquids and nutritional things that you're advised to do. You need to do that to give yourself as much energy as possible. Generally, it's going to be two things. You're going to have your nephrologist who's going to be working with you, but most importantly, at a dialysis facility, they provide you with a nutritionist, And they will come by and look at your blood work, and based on that, start guiding you as to what you need to do to maintain the appropriate balance in your body. For example, they can tell if you've been eating pizza, hot dogs, and things of that nature, because it's going to show up when they take a look at the blood work. And they can also advise you, if you want to go to a Mexican restaurant, this is what you should have, this is what you shouldn't have. So the good ones in the dialysis facilities provide you with that. Then you want to go on out and go online. You can certainly go to AAKP and pull down a diet, a nutritional diet that's going to be appropriate for you as a dialysis patient. When you're on dialysis, there's certain things that you're going to want to have in your diet. So yes, I do look for, normally I might eat granola bars, but I will go and I will look and see what the products contain, how many calories, how many milligrams, how much sodium and things of that nature, to make certain that I'm going to get something that's in line with what I should have in my diet. So particularly as you get older, so that sometimes if you skip a meal, you might have one of the nutritional drinks or something like that that can help give you an extra boost. There's a lot of different nutritional options, nutritional food bars and things like that are out there. But it is very helpful when a company can create a nutritional drink, a nutritional bar, or snacks that are geared strictly towards a person that is on dialysis. Because when they do that, they're going to make certain that it has the proper balance of things such as potassium and the other factors that we have to be aware of on our diet. And the more of those that we have with respect to choice, the better. If I walk into a store and I see something that has dialysis on it, I'm going to take a look at that rather than take a look at some of the other ones that are there, and I have to figure it out what might be best for me. You can't do what you normally do, and no matter what, dialysis comes first, period. You have to go to something, okay, I have to go to dialysis. That becomes a priority in your life, because that's what you're going to need in order for you to continue living. So what that does is it makes you rearrange your schedule. And if you have a traditional job, you may be a little bit tired, and we've learned to educate patients so that they can talk with their employer about their situation, because we encourage them to continue working as long as they can. So the freedom that you have, the freedom to travel, you can travel, but you have to make arrangements. You can do everything, but it has to be centered around dialysis. So the main thing I would say that you miss, that's toughest to handle, is your lack of freedom and flexibility. You're really locked into a specific regimen and schedule. When you're not on dialysis, this is something that varies from patient to patient. For me, when I was not on dialysis, I was continuing to work my job. I was president of a Boys and Girls Club, soccer commissioner, and soccer coach. I was able to continue doing that. My primary care physician and my nephrologist told me that physically I didn't have any limitations, so that I didn't need to sit around and not do anything. I could get out and function and do as much as I possibly could, and it wouldn't harm me. Other individuals, when they're on dialysis, many of them need to go home and rest. So it varies from patient to patient, but I think the most important thing is to understand that you have to figure out how you feel, not let somebody else limit you in terms of them telling you that you can't do something when you haven't even tried. So I find it best to keep myself busy, to keep engaged, to keep involved in doing things to the best that I can. Recipes for dialysis patients are very, very helpful, very helpful. Just cooking things, if you want to make pancakes, instead of getting something out the box that's processed, you can learn how to make them just using flour and the other ingredients that you use, because that's going to be what's best for you. You don't want to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and get a chicken pot pie. You want to have somebody make it, so all the other things that are put in a process situation are in there. I think that it also helps you because you may just not know what things are best for you and how to fix these meals that are specifically designed for you. So recipes that are renal friendly are very helpful to patients. Before you go on dialysis, the disease progresses at a fairly undetectable and a fairly consistent rate. And that's where education is important because you want to do what you can to slow the progression down. But unfortunately, like myself, I first found out in 1996 that I had issues getting insurance because of protein in my urine. And it was many years later that I found out that protein in your urine is a clear indication of impending kidney failure. Between 1996 and 2004, my condition deteriorated so that ultimately I went on dialysis in 2004. But the point is that it happens very slowly. You don't really perceive it. And all of a sudden, one day, your kidneys totally stop functioning and you have no choice but to go on to dialysis. Actually, your taste comes back when you go on dialysis. Prior to dialysis, I was with my son one day having some iced tea, and I said, "Oh, this tastes horrible. What's wrong with it?" He tasted, "There's nothing wrong with that iced tea." What was happening is that toxins were inside my body. They weren't being released. That made food and other things taste very strange to me, drinks, food, things of that nature. When I went on dialysis and the toxins were cleared out as best as they could from dialysis, I was able to get my normal taste back and food began to taste like it should taste. What you want to do to stay healthy, what you want to do to motivate yourself again, you're going to be working with your dietitian because you're going to have your blood checked on a regular basis. So you want to learn as much as possible about what you can have, what you can't have, what's good for you, what's not good for you. Exercise, I'm not really the person to exercise the most, but walking works. And because I was involved with the athletics, just being out in the field and walking around and dealing with the boys and the girls out there kind of gave me a lot of exercise pretty much every day. I would say 6 out of 7 days of the week. But you have to be mentally strong. You cannot sit around and not do anything. You have to more or less force yourself to do things to kind of stave off the deterioration of your body because the disease will make your body deteriorate. And if that's the case, you won't be in a position physically to be able to have a transplant when that ultimately happens. My dialysis period was approximately 8 years. From when I couldn't get insurance because I had protein in my urine and the doctors weren't specific. But over the next 8 years, not being able to sleep on a regular basis, getting 2 hours sleep, having to get up and go to the bathroom, loss of energy, just not as energetic. But most importantly, your cognitive skills begin to deteriorate. You just can't think as quickly. There's things happening to your body. And I would say the energy level and the fact that you couldn't sleep on a regular basis, so you were just tired very, very frequently. And on occasions, parts of your body, like your ankles, would swell up because of what you would eat, and the sodium would begin to have more and more of an impact on you. And most of processed foods and things that we eat on a regular basis, unless you're on a specific diet, are filled with sodium. I found it to be the same. I started a renal diet before I went on to dialysis. And thanks to my wife at the time who was dieting, I was able to avoid certain foods. The diet that she was on, I just followed that. And it prohibited her from having bananas, oranges, even potatoes, unless they were soaked to bring the potassium out of them. A lot of food that she cooked, she would soak it to make certain that the salt or everything would be taken out of it. So little did I know that I was following a version of a renal diet, but it was very helpful so that when I went on dialysis and got the additional restrictions, it wasn't that much of an adjustment. And plus, you simply feel better.